So I was a bit surprised whether you know things that I don't know about our portfolio company.
Ask me how surprised I was.
But it was a great introduction because it's the goal of the company, obviously. Last year, I was sitting here interviewing Robert Gens from Zalando, a public company everybody knows about. Today, it's my pleasure to talk a bit with Philipp from Thermondo, still in a bit earlier phase, but with an ambition that's not less than Zalando. What Philipp is trying to do is building the energy company of the 21st century. With a starting point that seems a bit non-obvious, they are selling and installing heating systems, boilers, which in its own is already a 12 billion market in Germany for hardware and services. Next step, what you're doing right now is selling long-term subscriptions to end consumers, managed hardware, energy as a service. And on the back of those two ingredients, then really build a broad, value-creating, a deep tech platform. So we wanted to dive a bit into this, but to kick this off, Philipp, boilers, really? I mean, you're sitting in red-hot Berlin, everybody is doing fancy consumer stuff, and you're installing boilers. What's it about?
Well, I guess you got to be a bit of a nerd to do it, but in the end, energy markets are massive, right? So you gave that number, just in Germany, it's 12 billion euros every year, hardware and services. And it's the one large existing market in the energy space on the hardware bit, right? So PV markets, photovoltaics, battery markets, much, much smaller. So if you really want to be having an anchor in that new energy world, which is small scale and distributed, then the heat space is by far the largest existing market and a very good entry point to that relationship to homeowners.
Okay. So Thermondo was named actually one of the fastest growing companies in Germany and Europe. You grew more than 300% in the years between 2013 and 16. Despite the really deep integration and heavy lifting you do, I mean, you're installing heating systems. So tell us a bit, what does this growth mean for you operationally?
I think Dara from Uber said it yesterday. So once you push that button at Uber, then it becomes really complex, right? And we have been facing and working with that complexity really from day one. So if you picture Thermondo, there's basically a commercial engine, so we're very good in lead generation, lead scoring, processing, and really turning that into orders because it's all software-based, it's algorithm-based. But then it comes really the real work, the real heavy lifting. And I can tell you, it's tough to scale a company like that. It's tough to scale it at that speed. But we feel strong about it. If you really push through and get to the other side of it, then you have built something that is really of value and really, really tough to beat.
Yeah. So you mentioned that actually installing boilers is a very large market in its own, but actually it's only the starting point for what you're up to. So you're tackling this as an entry point, but then really selling long-term subscriptions to consumers, managed hardware, energy as a service. So how is adoption going into this beyond installation of the boilers, but really getting into the long-term consumer relations?
Well, when we started, people literally said Germans, certainly conservative Germans, homeowners on top would never go for SLA, so service level agreements, right? They're cash rich, you know, we're living in low interest times. And actually 30% of our customers are opting for the leasing option. That translates into 10-year contracts, and in the European Union, you're only allowed to have 10-year consumer contracts because that asset in the basement, in that case, a heating system, is ours. So we have raised 20 million euros project finance debt for it. That's all KfW funds, so German Development Bank funds. Our cost of capital is actually negative on those because this gentleman who was just sitting here, was in charge of that program in the end, says, well, it's good, you know, new heating systems are good because they're reducing CO2 and thus are good for the society. In addition, we're having some really nice traction on the other subscription model, that's 2-year maintenance products. And just to give you an idea, so just on the maintenance bit, that's a 22 euro revenue per customer per month. So that's quite a large revenue if you compare to some other business models, actually.
Yeah. Great. And so you install the boilers, you have a long-term energy relation contract with the customer. In the end, then you're going on a mission towards this real tech platform. So what comes beyond this? What's the vision?
Yeah, I mean, we started off, and actually intellectually we started the company pretty much post-Fukushima. It took us a couple of years to really get it going, but the real opportunity is to be that energy company of the 21st century. And we always believe very much that scaling something that nobody has scaled before, so scaling the unscalable, so a nationwide installation company of a very, very complex service, that would be, the basis for that. And we are now at that point, we are still growing, at a nice rate, but with much more control, and now we create these long-term relationships with a lot of trust because we have the process excellence and the scalability of the digital world, but we combine it with people on the ground, that are from your neighborhood, that speak your dialect, and all that in a Thermondo branded experience. And we come to your home once a year, right? So once a year we come to you. We have a lot of data, but we're also physically in your home once a year. And so the next services we launch onto that relationship is gas, is power, so electricity contracts. We'll be launching a heat as a service program, so where we will also purchase the gas for you. So we literally sell kilowatt hours to you. And then we're working with full steam on our connectivity product, where we will team up with partners, but the customer interface and the experience that will be Thermondo.
So fast forward 5 to 10 years, can you share your picture of what Thermondo would look like? And actually also, if you look at the standard household, you will probably have an electric car in front of the house. You will maybe have some Tesla tiles on your roof. You have a Sonnen, basically, battery in your basement. How does Thermondo fit in this big picture? Where will you be in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so if you look at the energy markets, basically until very recently, they have not changed at all. So they were basically identical for like 100 years. So you had large power plants, you had an expensive grid, and then you had off-takers, and they literally called their customers off-takers. Now, in those very recent years, you have all this change, and today, I mean, every day we install a new system every 30 minutes. So every 30 minutes, we have an average ticket of 8,200 euros out there. And a new customer relationship starts. And it's very likely that this is the last fossil fuel-based system of that consumer. So we already see an uptake on electricity-based heating systems. Why? Because we have a lot of electricity. On a day like today, with that kind of sunshine, we have excess electricity in Germany. So Thermondo 5 to 10 years from now will be much more electricity-driven. It is extremely likely, if not almost 100% certain, that all of our customers will be having an e-vehicle. So wallbox chargers will be needed because batteries are getting large. You want to charge your car overnight. So we will be much more of a holistic energy provider to all these new products that our customers will be having. And we feel confident because we are and have been a trusted partner for quite some time until then.
So to round this off, and maybe for the many entrepreneurs here to take something home as well, as you said, Dara from Uber yesterday said it's easy to push the button, but it's incredibly complex what happens in the back. You went through times when you shifted between own workforce, contract workforce. What does it mean to really build a scalable tech platform with an operational business in the back? And what are your big learnings that you can share with the entrepreneurs?
Well, honestly, it's tough. I don't think there's a circumvention for the detail. You got to be prepared to really work humble every day on all these details. It's a bit like if Deliveroo had started to do kitchens on day one. That's if you want to picture us, and that's the reason, I guess, why they also grow much faster than we do, or grew much faster than we did. And it's very different skill sets you have to have in that same kind of company. So a performance marketeer is obviously very different to an operational excellence person. So being exposed and faced with that depth from day one is tough. So my main advice is to stay on board, stay humble, and keep on working every day, because there's no circumvention for it, I think.
Great. Philipp, thank you very much. Maerkle mentioned the ambition of the company. I'm not repeating this one. He even put a value out there. Philipp gave you the background, some learnings, and you saw Philipp, Thermondo, the energy company of the 21st century. Thank you very much.
Thank you.